Today on Public Eye News, on-campus ASNMU elections closed today, and later Tennessee House expels 2 Democrats over a gun control protest.
Later, Emily 7 will have your weather for the week, and Brad Seaborg will have your sports update. Hello, I'm Beck Burley.
And I'm Brad Seaborg, and this is Public Eye News. There's only a few minutes left to cast your vote in the ASNMU student government elections as online voting closes at 5 p.m. today. Along the positions up for election are the ASNMU president, vice president, and a variety of representatives. The representatives make up the General Assembly of ASNMU and are tasked with drafting legislation on behalf of the student body. Representatives are also required to serve 2 hours a week in the ASNMU office. Voting began on April 5th, with debates being held the week prior. And there will be a formal 3-day period after elections where formal complaints may be submitted before the transfer of power on April 14th at 6 p.m. And some more on-campus news. Northern Michigan Artist Discovery, also known as Nomad, will be hosting a benefit concert tomorrow in the Northern Center Grand Ballroom. The Rock for Your Rights concert will feature bands such as local group Atticus, Sorry Mom, Cherry Glazer, and Destroy Boys. Nomad is partnering with the Marquette Women's Center to accept donations to raise funds and awareness for Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Doors will open at 6 p.m. and music starts at 6:15.
And in Ohio, a cold case has finally been put to bed. A body that washed up in 1980 along Ohio's Lake Erie shoreline has been identified through DNA testing and genetic genealogy as that of a Michigan woman. In Sandusky, Ohio, police said Patricia Eleanor Greenwood was born in 1948 and had lived in Michigan in Traverse City, Bay City, and Saginaw. Her body was found in March 1980 on a Lake Erie beach in Sandusky, but it remained unidentified. While a coroner couldn't determine Greenwood's cause of death, Constance suspects she was a homicide victim. Sandusky police will continue investigating her death and ask anyone who knew Greenwood to call them. And over in Wisconsin, Governor Tony Evers pardons 160 people, extending the state record. A pardon doesn't erase or seal a conviction, but it does restore the right to own a gun, to vote, to be on a jury, to hold public office, and to hold various licenses. A pardon also doesn't keep someone's criminal record from showing up on background checks. But applicants often argue that clemency makes them more attractive to employers. Evers said in a statement announcing the pardons, each pardon recipient's journey is unique, and each deserves the opportunity for a new start. And the Biden administration is proposing new rules, stopping schools and colleges across the country from enacting outright bans on transgender athletes. The potential rule, released Thursday, comes as the Supreme Court said a trans middle schooler could run on her track team in West Virginia. While legal battles play out, CBS News correspondent Jared Hill has more.
A proposed rule from the Biden administration would prevent schools and colleges from putting a blanket ban on transgender athletes. Specifically, it updates federal law known as Title IX, which ensures students aren't discriminated against based on sex. The proposal does, though, give some wiggle room for exceptions, allowing K-12 schools and colleges to restrict in some cases where the participation of a trans student undermines fairness on the field or could lead to injuries.
In a sense, I think what the Biden administration is doing is telling states, go back and do something narrower.
The announcement comes the same day the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that a 12-year-old trans girl in West Virginia can keep competing on her middle school track and cross-country teams while legal challenges continue in the state. Earlier in the week, Kansas became the 20th state to ban trans athletes from women's and girls' sports after lawmakers overturned the Democratic governor's veto. Governors in Indiana and Idaho signed laws restricting gender-affirming care for trans minors. The White House reacting.
So I want to say directly to LGBTQI plus kids, you are loved just as you are.
The federal proposal still has to go through a public comment period before it takes effect. Jared Hill, CBS News.
Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back with your weather and your national news after this short break.
6 o'clock!
Downton is a great house, and the Crawleys are a great family.
Do you know the new heir is Robert's third cousin?
I thought Lady Mary was the heir.
Girls can't inherit.
Don't you care about Downton?
I've given my life to Downton.
I won't let them change me.
Why are you so against him?
He isn't one of us.
Welcome to Downton.
Season 1 continues Friday at 9.
Welcome back to Public Eye News. I'm Emily Seven, and I'll have your weather update for you today. Taking a look at the roof cam, we have patches of snow that are finally melting. It looks sunny, no clouds in the sky today. And heading across the UP, we take a look over at Ironwood with a sunny skies and a high of 38. Iron Mountain 39, partly cloudy. Menominee 36, Escanaba also 36, both are sunny. Over in the east, we have Manistee, partly cloudy skies and 35 degrees. Sault Ste. Marie, 31 degrees and partly cloudy skies. And back in our lovely Marquette, 33 degrees and partly cloudy. And our current conditions, we have winds out of the east-northeast at 6 miles an hour. Our barometric pressure is 30.60 and it is falling. And tonight we have a low of 20, keeping it partly cloudy with winds out of the south-southeast at 7 miles per hour. And tomorrow we will be rising in temperature a little bit. We have a high of 40 degrees, a low of 30, and winds out of the east-southeast at 9 miles per hour. And looking ahead into the weekend and the beginning of next week, we are finally seeing a rise in temperatures. On Sunday, we have a high of 54 and a low of 41, partly cloudy skies. On Monday, we have a high of 55, a low of 42, also partly cloudy. And on Tuesday, we have a high of 57 and a low of 47 with cloudy skies. That's all I have for your weather today. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thank you, Emily. The Tennessee House of Representatives voted to officially expel 2 Democratic lawmakers for their role in a gun rights protest following a deadly shooting in Nashville. The vote saw accusations of racism after Representatives Justin Jones and Justin Pearson, who are both black, were expelled, while Representative Gloria Johnson, a white woman, retained her seat after the vote. Banishing a member from the chamber is one of the most powerful measures the state legislature can take and has only been used a few times since the Civil War, only in cases of serious misconduct by a lawmaker, and never used as a political weapon until now. The 2 expelled members have vowed that they will still be advocating for action on guns. Jones says, quote, "They think the issue is over. We'll see you on Monday," end quote. And the Environmental Protection Agency has proposed that chemical plants across the nation measure certain hazardous compounds that cross their property lines and reduce them when they are too high. The new rules could help reduce the risk of cancer and other exposures to communities that live near chemical plants. The EPA says the plan would affect about 200 plants and would target the short-term emissions spikes from plants starting up, shutting down, and malfunctioning. The plan would cut ethylene oxide emissions by 2/3 and chloroprene emissions by 3/4, along with limiting pollutants that increase smog. The executive director of the Deep South Center for Environmental Justice, Beverly Wright, said, quote, "This is probably the most significant rule I'm experiencing in my 30 years of working in Cancer Alley," end quote. The data from these plants would be made public under the new plan, forcing companies to fix emission problems. And the Pentagon is investigating how secret documents outlining U.S. support for an upcoming Ukrainian counteroffensive began popping up on social media. Nicole D'Antonio has more details from Washington.
The Pentagon has launched an investigation to find out who leaked classified documents to social media. The documents showed secret American and NATO plans for building up the Ukrainian military ahead of a planned offensive against Russian forces this spring. The charts showed anticipated weapons deliveries, troop and battalion strengths, and other plans. The U.S. has been supplying weapons and training as Ukraine prepares to launch the offensive to drive Russia out of its country.
We very much appreciate everything that the United States have done specifically in the last months to help our army prepare itself for the counteroffensive.
Just this week, the U.S. announced it is sending $2.6 billion worth of military equipment to Ukraine ahead of the offensive.
That includes significant new air defense capabilities, more ammunition for U.S.-provided HIMARS, and anti-armor and motor systems, as well as rockets, artillery, and tank ammunition that Ukraine is using to defend itself.
The leaked documents do not provide specific battle plans or mention when and where Ukraine intends to launch the offensive, which American officials say is likely in the next month or so. Nicole D'Antonio, CBS News, Washington.
After this break, Bradley will be back with your sports update. Stay tuned.
What was the biggest single surprise to you?
Complex and revealing.
One of the worst miscalculations in history.
David Rubenstein explores America's past.
He certainly thought of himself as an historic figure.
With scholars, authors.
You wear a tie when you're writing your column?
I wear a tie in the shower.
And a bit of fun. History with David Rubenstein.
Tonight at 6.
Welcome back. Northern Michigan's football spring scrimmage is set to start tomorrow at 1 p.m. in the Superior Dome. The Cats will face off against each other, representing the school colors of green and gold. The event is open to the public, and kids as well as other fans will be able to interact with the players and coaches. First-year head coach Shane Richardson has recently released the team schedule, and they have 6 home games with 4 away games ahead this fall. The team brings back a lot of talent and hopes to make a playoff run this season. And Northern Michigan women's soccer team will host a spring scrimmage against Michigan Tech tomorrow at 4:45 and encourage Wildcat fans to support the green and gold. Coach Sandoval has released their team schedule, and their 18-game season hopes to be better than last fall. Coach Sandoval is in his first season as head coach for Northern and was able to get his team ranked in the country with lots of great athletes surrounding the program. They could even rank higher than some would expect. The Wildcats finished last season with a 13-4-5 record, winning 8 of their conference matchups. And for you hockey fans, the Pittsburgh Penguins will face off against the Detroit Red Wings tomorrow at 1 p.m. in Little Caesars Arena. This is the 3rd time these teams will meet this season, with the Red Wings winning their last matchup in overtime. Both teams in the last 10 games have a .500 winning percentage or higher, but the Penguins are on a 3-game skid and looking to bounce back with a team win over the Red Wings. The Red Wings are home and seeking to defend their ice from the visitors, who are seeking their 17th consecutive playoff berth. That's all I've got for sports. Back to you at the news desk, Beck.
Thank you, Bradley. And on the West Coast, a fishing ban has been implemented to close the king salmon fishing season earlier this year. Biologists say the Chinook salmon population has declined dramatically after years of drought. Many in the fishing industry say Trump-era rules that allowed more water to be diverted from the Sacramento River Basin to agriculture caused even more harm. And dust off your eclipse glasses. It's only a year before a total solar eclipse sweeps across North America. If you miss next year's spectacle, you have to wait another 20 years until the next one hits the United States.
Did you get a chance to view the last solar eclipse, Beck?
I did, yeah. It was really something spectacular.
Yeah, those solar phenomena are really something to witness, something everyone should try and get a chance at. I know I watched the last one with my parents in my own backyard.
It's quite rare, especially like with everything going on. You know, you can only time it like so right. You know?
It is true. There's something unique about them that kind of unites everyone in awe of this mystical phenomenon thousands of hundreds of miles away.
Oh, absolutely. Like, we've been worshiping the sun for, what, hundreds of thousands of years, right? Like, it's ridiculous.
It's a crucial part of our time here on Earth, and I think it's important that everyone, takes a little bit of interest in it.
Oh, yeah. Totally. I mean, like, what else could we do with that time,
True. It is a good way to spend some time, at least, if nothing else, and get a group of friends or family together. It's
loved ones.
Great little bonding experience.
Yeah. Just make sure not to look directly at the sun during this time, seeing as it could blind you.
That is true. Don't stare directly into the sun. That's something you should never do. It'll damage your retinas.
If you damage your retinas, like I know, certain specialists can fix it, but it's a sketchy procedure.
It is something you definitely want to avoid, but keep in mind, you should still view this phenomenon as it is something truly special. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for you today at Public Eye News. I'm Brad Seaborg.
And I'm Beck Brearley.
And we will see you next week.
The preceding program was produced by WNMU-TV, Northern Michigan University Public Television, in studios located in Elizabeth and Edgar Hardin Hall.